then all of a sudden it's like all these little things you realize you're so much more capable than what you've been doing in your life. And so it starts by challenging yourself, keeping your word to yourself. Then also you got to hang out with people who are confident.
Welcome back to another episode of It Takes Grit. I feel like we should have just recorded everything we were just talking about for the last 25 minutes.
I know.
But I'm excited because Cayla Craft, which is the coolest name I think we've had on the show so far,
that's right,
is joining us today. How are you, lovely?
I'm so excited to be here.
I am so fired up. We got lots to cover today. I'm feeling a little bit hot and sweaty because we've just had a very heated conversation.
We were not at each other.
Not at each other, yeah, with each other. Mm-hmm. So for those people who don't know you already, tell everybody like who you are, what you do, and just like she's a freaking badass. Like I'm on fire right now.
Yay. Okay. Yeah. So I have a brand called Millionaire, and we help women just become financially free. So it's my mission to help 1 million women become millionaires. And you know that all started because I was raised by a single mom, and so I saw my mom work so hard, but still she struggled financially. Right. And so I just grew up like having that like ambition. Like I was not going to struggle financially. I got my start in network marketing when I was 23, became a millionaire by 26.
Great start.
And that kind of just like ignited that entrepreneur spirit inside of me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be a business coach, and turned into like a business consultant. And I do that. And then I wanted to really like help people all over the world. And that's how Millionaire was born.
Well, and now you have a podcast.
Yeah. So we have the Millionaire podcast. We have a live event coming up. And then we also have a mastermind too.
I'm fired up for you. And like you have 3 kids.
Yeah.
So I always feel like if you have 2, you're safe because you have 1 in each hand. If you're 3, you just let it all out. It's just like, it's gone. And they all got dropped off at school, the same school today.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're 9, 7, and 4. And so now once you have one that's like old, so my 9-year-old's old. Okay. He's just like an adult basically. Yeah. And so he helps me with a little one. So that's how you manage more than 2.
Okay, there you go. So you need the age difference too. Okay, perfect. So how do you balance becoming a millionaire and having 3 kids and a husband and like you're living in Newport Beach? I mean, that's a lot to manage.
So I always tell people like balance is not real, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because my life is definitely not going to look like my neighbors, right? Mm-hmm. Like my neighbors, like the mom stays at home, she picks up the kids from school, her husband goes to work for 12 hours a day, and her life looks much different than mine. Yep. So the way that she balances is going to be different. And I got to focus on what makes me happy, right? So what makes me happy is whenever I see my kids, I like to spend quality time with them. So I have it in my calendar, scheduled in quality time with my kids. So that way I don't work. And as a busy mom, you just have to schedule in everything that you want. So like figure out what is the most important to you and then say, okay, I'm going to put that in my calendar. Because I think about like, you want to just be in alignment with who you're destined to be, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you don't write it down, you're not necessarily going to do it. And I learned that from my nursing days. I used to be an ER nurse. So it was like drilled into my brain. If you didn't write it down, it didn't get done.
Right.
And so I just I live by my calendar.
So do you have that like mom guilt of when you're working? Because I think that's a lot of things that people struggle with. They're like, oh, like I should be going to work to like earn more money for my kids, but then I'm kind of leaving them. Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I do remember feeling like that in the beginning. Like I've been an entrepreneur for all my whole kids' lives. And so in the beginning, I remember going, gosh, like I should be, playing Legos with them on the floor instead of doing this phone call. Now I realize like it was totally worth it, missing that little moment. But what's so important is going, what do I want out of my life? And I looked at my life and go, okay, if I don't do something drastically different, I'm going to be working as a burnt out nurse 10 years from now. I'm not going to be happy. My kids are not going to be able to live the life I know I want them to, like, right? They couldn't go to private school. They wouldn't have all the money to do the things that I want my kids to be able to do. So I had to give a little bit of sacrifice, and then my whole life has changed because of it. So I think guilt is a choice. Yep. At any moment and any day, you can change the thought. And so I just know whatever I'm doing, like right now I'm here with you, I'm here with you. Yep. I'm not thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about how do I serve your audience right now? And so I think a good rule any mom could live by, any person could live by, is live in the present moment. because you're in it. So you can't change it. You can't go to work once you're at home and you took the day off, right?
Maybe it's made the best moment.
Yeah, and just give your very, very best in that moment.
Short-term sacrifices for long-term goals.
Yep.
And I remember telling my parents that when we'd be on like family vacations and I'm building my empire and I'm like, hey, I know that I'm not that present, but one day you'll be able to come to Huntington Beach and I'll have a house ready for you.
Yeah.
And you won't have to pay for anything and we'll get to go out on boats and do amazing things. So I kind of relate to that. I don't have kids,
that.
But it's like that short-term sacrifices and letting them know too. Like I'm sure there's times when you have to tell your kids, hey, mommy's working right now.
Oh, yeah.
And do they understand that?
Absolutely. So, and also like we have an office, we both work out of our house and they know that they can come into my office whenever they need. I don't care if I'm doing a podcast, I'm filming, it doesn't matter. You are my top priority. Now, you only need to come in here if you really need mommy. But like they know, and I'm constantly telling them like, you're my top priority. Like you're the most important thing to me. Last night before they went to school, I had 20 questions for them to ask them, you know, like what's the most important thing to you? What is the meaning of life? And I asked my 4-year-old, what is the easiest thing to do in life? That was one of the questions. He said, make money. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's been listening to mom.
He's been listening to these podcasts.
I was like, oh my gosh. So, you know, they're listening and I just know like, because they hear all the mindset work that I'm doing with my clients, they're going to be like light years ahead of me when they're ready to like, you know, build their life.
I always feel that with me as well. It's like if I had this coaching and knowledge at such a young age, goodness knows like where I would have been. I would have started network marketing at 14 years old and been like a millionaire by the time I was 20. So that's really great that you're already encouraging your kids to do that. What was it at 23 when you joined your network marketing company that made you decide just to go for it?
Well, so I was working as an ER nurse and I was a charge nurse. So I was like, okay, the next move up for me would be a manager. And I'm like, I saw those managers that were overweight, they were unhappy, and they were stressed out. They were like losing their hair in their 30s. I was like, I do not want to be that person. And I went to a meeting and they talked about financial freedom. And the same thing probably happened to you. That those words, financial freedom, because of my childhood, like I grew up with my dad in jail. Like, you know, we were on food stamps. We, you know, like that was my life. I remember just like never having enough, you know?
Yep.
Financial freedom was everything to me. So I was like, yes, sign me up. I went straight full force, like went to the event and was like coming home telling everybody I was going to be a millionaire. And people thought I was crazy nuts. And I was like, I don't care. Like all day long, I was buying my story that I was going to be a millionaire. I do not care what you have to say.
No one else could tell you otherwise.
No one else could tell me otherwise. And somebody asked me this the other day. They go, how did you handle the rejection? Because most people, they cower. They're just like, oh, I can't handle it. When I was 16 years old, I remember going and looking for my dad. He was a drug addict. And I went into one of the little drug houses that he was in. This is crazy. Like I'm like the 16-year-old, like by myself. And I find him and I'm like, Dad, come on, come home. Come on. And I remember crying at the door and he literally slammed the door in my face and said, go away.
Wow.
And like in that moment, I felt so unlovable. And rejected. But I also committed to myself, like, nobody's ever going to make me feel this way again. Nobody's ever going to have that power over me. And that's how, like, when your own dad rejects you and says, go away, like, I don't want you.
Yep.
That, you know, that other type of rejection, it's like,
yeah, if someone that you don't really know, like,
shrug it off.
Okay,
right?
Great. Yeah, there's nothing to compare it to.
Right. So when you've experienced that kind of pain, you just go, I can do anything. Like if I can overcome that and not be a drug addict like him, because that's what most people do, right? I'm like, no. So that's how. I mean, you kind of like, you got to compare it, like the perspective of like rejection, like it's just a part of the game. It's a part of the process.
I think that's the biggest thing. And like, even when we're going out in our business and we're reaching out, finding new clients or people, maybe articles or magazines that we want to be part of, there's a 99.90% chance that they're going to say no.
Right.
But like, you're only looking for that 0.1%.
Right.
Or that 1% of people as well. And so having that focus on, you know, the outcome of finding the yes actually outweighs the no's. I remember because when I started network marketing at 25, I went to the event And my mentor was like super wealthy, had traveled the world. So what everybody else said to me just didn't matter because I was like, well, I want to be like this person.
Right.
So why would I listen to like these other people who were saying it's not possible, it's not going to happen, like you're crazy. I was like, no, you're crazy. You're the crazy one.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at this person and they have everything I want. So I'm like, you guys are the crazy ones.
I mean, that's a good point. Like you really should only take advice from people that you would be willing to trade places with.
Yeah, I say that quote all the time.
Yeah.
Love it. So one thing that you talk about is like boosting your self-confidence, because I think if someone hasn't had a traumatic, thing that's happened in their past that they can't compare it with, how can you find that self-confidence to go for it anyway?
Right. Well, I think when you keep your word to yourself, you build your confidence that way. And so, like, for example, I could say, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. And I push the snooze and I end up getting up at 7:30 and running late, getting the kids out of the door. How many times do people do that? On a daily basis. They do it day after day after day. And they wonder why they don't feel good about themselves. It's like, you couldn't keep a little promise to yourself.
Right.
So, start with one challenge and go, okay, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. It doesn't have to necessarily be this. This is just an example. I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. for 5 days in a row. Then all of a sudden, on the 5th day after you've gotten up at 5 a.m., you're feeling good about yourself. You're like, look, I can do it. Now I'm going to add in, I'm going to do, 100 ab moves every single day for 7 days.
Right.
Then I feel better. Then all of a sudden, it's like all these little things, you realize you're so much more capable than what you've been doing in your life. And so it starts by challenging yourself, keeping your word to yourself. Then also, you got to hang out with people who are confident. Like if I hang out with a bunch of people that talk bad about themselves, that gossip about other people,
right.
I'm never going to feel good about myself because that's like the norm. But if I hang out with people like you that is like, I'm amazing, I'm wonderful, like, heck yeah, I'm going to start feeling, it's going to rub off because it's unacceptable. If I were to come up to you and be like, oh my gosh, I'm having an ugly day and a fat day or whatever, you'd be like, why are you talking like that?
Yeah. Good. Pull your big girl pants on. Let's go.
It wouldn't be allowed. So I think you got to hang out with confident people.
That's so true. So for you, when you got started in, launching your podcast, were you scared to launch something new? Were you like, is anyone going to even listen to this? Like, when did you start the podcast?
I started the podcast, 18 months ago. And no, like I always do something and expect it to succeed. And I think that and it's not the most popular podcast out there, but it is pretty successful. And one of the things is if you can see it in your mind, it can become real in your life. And so one of the things my mom taught me at a very young age, and I know most people didn't have this, but she was a single mom. And the thing she said was, anything you say out loud becomes real in your life. Your words are very powerful. Like when we were sick, she wouldn't let me say out loud I was sick.
Wow.
Okay. Like she was very extreme.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was my subconscious mind at a very young age. Do not speak anything that I don't want to be true. So when I was 13, my friends will tell you, I would walk around and say, I'm the most beautiful girl here in the room. Like I would literally say that stuff out loud. You're like, she's a cocky girl. But that's what I wanted to be true. Right. Yeah. So I just was ingrained with that. And so when it comes to, building up a podcast, launching a new business, listen, I expect everything I touch to turn to gold. Does everything? No, I've had a massive amount of failures too. But I never go into it expecting somebody to not listen. I'm like, why would people not listen? They're crazy if they don't listen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're so certain.
You've got to have certainty. That is the missing ingredient. People are uncertain about where they're going. I'm so certain I'm going to be a billionaire. It's just a matter of time.
Right.
Right?
I remember when we were sat and we first met when we were in Monaco, had an amazing trip to Monaco. It was one of the best 4 days of my whole life. And I remember sitting next to you at dinner and you were so sure about how to create the emails to the marketing to talking to your audience. I was blown away. How did you learn all this stuff? Because a lot of people, they look at, someone like you and they're like, well, you just have it all figured out. But there was a time where you didn't have it figured out and you have to figure it out. But it's not like you join a university and they teach you all this.
Right.
Stuff. So how did you figure it out?
I mean, you buy courses, you go to YouTube, you invest. I mean, I have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in mentors that have done what I want to do, because that's the easiest way to shortcut the process is to hire somebody that will tell you, here's what not to do and here's what to do, right? So you learn from the best. I've always invested to go to the next level. And I think people are scared of that. They're like, oh, I could just figure it out on Google University. It's like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
Because then you keep making mistake after mistake after mistake. It's like, listen to the pros.
And when you have one of these mentors, does sometimes you question them of what to do? Or are you like, hey, I just like, if they're teaching me to go and say this to a certain person, just going for it? Because sometimes, I mean, with me, I get like uncomfortable when I know one of my friends is like, hey, you need to have this conversation with this person because you need to have this conversation. I'm like, oh, I just don't like confrontation. But are you literally following what your mentors are teaching you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and if you're going to invest that money, like I don't like to waste money. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to invest in you, it's because I trust you and I would be willing to trade places with you.
Right.
Right. So it's always that thing like, do I want what they have? I'm going to be coachable. I'm going to be 100% coachable. I remember my first business coach, I hated getting on the phone with him because he would always make me do something like after the call that I really didn't want to do. Mm-hmm. Like it was painful. And he even told me that in the beginning. He says, there's going to be parts where you don't want to get on the phone with me, that you're going to hate me because of the things that I'm going to push you to do. It was the best thing I ever did for myself because it helped me break a lot of chains that were holding me back.
Do you remember what type of things he was getting you to do?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I do. I will never forget those. But, you know, I was already a millionaire and I was like plateaued. I'm like, I don't know what's next. I have all this money. My kids are healthy. I have this marriage over here and I'm just like not happy. Like nobody can make me happy. And so I was like, I got to hire a coach. And what I found out was like, I was a victim. And even though I was like proud and I would always say, I'm not a victim. I rise up. I do whatever it takes. Like I was like, he was like, you're a bulldozer that's actually a Ferrari and you need to like that's how you're coming out in the world. And no wonder why you're not happy. You're not even being yourself because you're just like in fight mode.
Oh,
you know,
wow, okay.
And I was like, whew, okay.
Because you feel like you were getting defensive?
Yeah, because I was just like, oh, like, you know, my dad hates me. My mom's this, my mom's that, you know, like, and I would be like, oh, I got to just go fight for what I want. That was my mentality. He's like, how can you be happy when you're constantly fighting? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, that.
Yeah.
So I had to do like this process of forgiving my dad, forgiving my stepdad, forgiving my mom, forgiving my brother. Like, I, at that point, didn't really have a relationship with any of them at all. And so, because I was angry, I was like, I don't need you. Whatever. Right. Bye. Bye. That's my defense mechanism. He's like, your defense mechanism will work until they don't. And at that point, it had worked. And now it was not working. Like cutting people out of my life and blinders on was no longer going to get me to the next phase of my life. And so I basically had to call all of them and tell them everything I didn't like about them. Okay, this is, okay? Everything I don't like about them, and then ask for forgiveness from them. From my own dad, like who I'm like, you know, you should be like begging me to be in your life. And no, I had to call and ask for forgiveness. I've been holding a grudge against you for years. And I'm so thankful that you were the drug addict you were, because that's what made me strong today. That's what made me be good at sales, marketing, all that stuff, because I know pain. Mm-hmm. And so I can speak to people. Yeah. You had to be you. So that you could be you to be you. Right. Yeah. Right? But imagine calling somebody up and saying all that.
So hard.
Will you forgive me?
Yeah. How long did it take you to do that?
It was a process of 6 months to do all of this.
So and what's your relationship now like with your family?
I have a really good relationship with my mom and my stepdad, which is very surprising. And my dad, it's still, you know, he's an addict, so you got to keep him at a distance. But it's a loving thing. Like I don't have any hate towards him. It's more of just like, I feel I have so much compassion for him. It's a disease, you know, but in order for me to like be mentally safe, I can't have him in my life, you know?
Yeah. Do you feel like going through that and, you know, asking for forgiveness, you were allowed to become unapologetically you?
100%. Because now I'm like, I don't have any shame around it. I'll tell everybody everything. Like, this is it.
Yeah. And how do you get to that point? Because a lot of times I feel like people are so worried about not being themselves or like being judged or like, oh, if I do it this way, if I talk to this person, and then you're not even happy. Because like I've done it too, when you're becoming this, you know, perfectly curated person online, and then you never say anything negative that's happened to you, and then you feel unauthentic and you feel like you're not being you. So how do you get over that and just freaking be you?
Well, I think like knowing that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So some people are going to have a real problem with all the things that you share. But some people, your people, are going to be even more drawn to you. Those are the people that will die for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they will cut someone that talks bad to you. Like, you know what I mean? They love you. And because they truly know you. Like you're like, hey, this is me. This is me with all of my scars, with all of my open wounds that I'm still healing. I'm going through it. I'm just like you. The difference is that all of those open wounds, I'm not letting them hold me back. Like I'm continuing to move forward. And so it gives people hope. And so you have an obligation to share all of you. And I think there's some stories that, like, obviously there's so many stories I would never share.
Yeah.
But I share enough to go, hey, like, listen, I'm in it with you. I'm continuing to grow as a person. And if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. I really feel too, like, having this conversation just opened my eyes to, you know, sometimes we try to, like, please everybody. And then we have like 100 people that we know, but then there's nobody that we really know, like, that tight. And if you start to be openly you're going to actually really attract people who you're going to be even closer with. Because you're going to share who you really are. And those people who don't see it, then it's almost like, well, fuck them. Like, they're not your people.
Right.
They're just not your people.
Right. And I think, like, I always ask myself, like, if today was my last day of life, would I want to spend it being somebody that I'm not? Trying to be this perfect friend? Like, it doesn't feel good. And I remember being in network marketing and, like, having to be perfect all the time. I thought that I needed, I'm like, what? Then the moment I finally opened up to my team exploded because they were like, oh my gosh, Cayla's not perfect. And so I can do this too. Yeah.
So how do you still, because if you're in network marketing, you need to still show that you can work hard and that you are someone that people want to follow, as well as using some of that vulnerability. Because you don't want to say, you know what, I've just had a terrible, shitty day. I'm not going to be on social media for the next week. Because you don't want that, because then no one's going to follow you. So how do you balance the two with showing your vulnerability, but also making sure that people aren't going to be like, well, she's not with it, so I don't want to follow her.
Right. Well, I think, like, if you're having, like, bad day after bad day after bad day, like, listen, nobody's going to be following you because you're not in a good energetic space. So get your energy right. Right. And the most important thing to think about is what are you creating for your life? What is your long-term vision for your life? And buy into that vision every single morning. And what you'll see is the actions that you need to be taking every single day. You better be showing up on social media, right? You got to be consistent in order to build the influence over people. So what does my avatar need to see right now on social media? The one that's going to come into the network marketing. Well, they probably just had a bad day because their bank card was declined again.
Right.
So I'm showing up for them. I'm not showing up for me and my pity party today. I'm showing up for them to give them hope. Look, you know, like, I remember I used to always post, like, little of my company card, like, just bought lunch for everybody. Like, that would be a good, like, little thing. I didn't have to get on there and share me and I'm having a bad day. It was just like, oh, cool, I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I get to do this.
That my company
else
just did this. Yeah. And then if their bank card was just declined, then they're hitting me up.
Yeah.
Right. So think about your avatar. Show up for them. You got to build consistency to have influence, you know?
And that's the same with your friends too. Like, I sometimes see, like, even if you're not trying to build a business, like, don't post on social media, like, oh, like, it was a good day at the beach, like, apart from, like, the last, like, 3 hours that, like, sucked. And then, like, loads of people are going to be like, why, what's up? What's up? What's wrong? And it's almost like you're craving that negative attention. And it's like you're getting people to worry about you when really you just need to kind of take a breath and get over that moment. And so that, because I feel like people are just causing, like, a stir. You're creating like negative energy.
Like, if there's a point to it, right? So, like, the other day I was just telling you the stuff that I had to deal with last week, and it was like, I had the worst week, I felt like. And on Friday I posted this post that said, like, you can, or something like that. And I put, like, you know, I just had one of the hardest days of my life. And here's the thing is, like, this isn't going to bury me. Like, you might feel like right now, like, you're stuck, but the sun rises again tomorrow. So, like, I shared, like, vulnerable, like, I just really had a sucky day and I'm checking out. I said, I'm checking out of social media for the weekend. Like, here's what I know.
Yes.
Right.
You had the solution.
I had the solution. Like, here, I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to be buried here. Like, I will rise up, and so can all of you. So there was it was like good balance of, like, bringing hope to people, because if you just go, oh, like, you want the sympathy, people do it all the time. I see that. Right. And it's like, well, what's the moral here? Yeah,
it's like, yes, you're okay to say your vulnerability, but, like, give people a solution so that if they're feeling like shit too, they're not just going to be like, okay, it's fine for me to wallow and be a victim. It's like, oh, she's feeling like shit, me too, but she's given a solution and I can follow that too. Yeah. How do you create boundaries with people? I think the conversation that we were having before this started getting recording was great. And I'm kind of not that great at, like, stepping into my boundaries and making sure people maybe aren't taking advantage. But how do you create boundaries with clients, you know, say if someone's not paid you on time or they haven't delivered what they said they're going to do, like, how do you create these boundaries without being like, oh God, I just want the ground to swallow me whole?
Well, you teach people how to treat you. Mm-hmm. And I think about all the time, like, it's funny that you said, you know, somebody didn't pay you or whatever. I'll send people to collections. Like, I just sent 3 people yesterday. And here's why. I have a very abundant mindset. It's more of the fact that I like to hold people to their word. Mm-hmm. So I am actually, and my mentor said, are you going to be in the business of teaching people integrity? And I said, actually, that is the business I would like to be a part of. Right. Okay. And it's, when you send people to collections, you barely receive that money back. But it's more about teaching the lesson for them. Like, listen, like, you got to do that. I tell people right away, I have you sign a contract because I believe you're going to follow through on paying this. Right. And I'm going to give you everything of me. Mm-hmm. Right. So they know ahead of time, that's my boundaries. I'm going to give you the service. You're going to pay for it. Yeah. And you're going to pay it because you're going to sign on the dotted line right here. And a lot of people don't talk about that. People don't pay. Yeah. People don't follow through on their word. So I think that's important. But when it comes to friends, like, you got to set up agreements with people, right? Like, I expect to be treated this way, because otherwise you're going to get your feelings hurt all the time. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Or because you're holding people to agreements they never made. Right. It's almost like if you're in a relationship with someone and you have a standard of what they should be like. Yep. Like, it's so funny. We were talking about PR, and my PR girl called me a couple months back, and she was like, you know what? We need to have a conversation because you are hurting my feelings. Every time I text you, you will text back and say, "K," or like, it's very short. And I just want to know, did I do something to piss you off? Yeah. And I'm like, listen, like, no, like, I'm not a big texter. I won't sit there. Like, a K means K, I saw it. Mm-hmm. Like, we're good to go. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And she's like, well, I need an emoji. I need to know that you love me. Yeah. Like, that it's a nice one. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, that's an agreement we can make for you specifically. I will add a little heart emoji, and that means I love you so much, Gigi. Yeah. All is well. Yes. If you don't get the heart emoji, I am mad. Okay. Yeah. Like, I'm making that agreement with you right now. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we did. That was our relationship. I would just text her a heart emoji, like, I got it. We're good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And everything changed. She wasn't mad at me anymore, but it was like, listen, you should have set that up in the beginning of the whole friendship and the partnership or whatever, you know? And so now that was one example. Like, I'm all about agreements. Mm-hmm. So how do you do that too with Chase, your husband? Oh. Like, are you, because you say he's the he's the nice one, and you're like the bull in the china shop. Yeah. Yep. So how does that balance between the two of you? Well, so we've been together for 12 years. And for us, it's more about, like, I can't look to Chase to make me happy. So if that's going to be an agreement that you make me happy, then I'm never, like, obviously, you're always going to be breaking the agreement. Because I can't look outside for happiness, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there are a few agreements that we need to make with each other. So the first one is, like, you've got to spend family time with us every single day. You can only play hockey twice a week. Like, these are straight up agreements, because I will, like, cut somebody. Like, right? This is it. But these are things that, like, and then there's certain agreements that, like, he doesn't like when I yell. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, so there's little things that we have set up with each other over the years. Like, this is unacceptable. Mm-hmm. This is unacceptable. And so if we do this, this means that we need to go to counseling, or we need help here if I'm starting to do this action. But I think you have to have constantly talks. Like, we go on dates to talk about our relationship. Just to talk about them, or we'll go on a walk just to talk about our relationship. And what comes up on those talks? Are you just recapping, like, the week and how it's gone? So we can't talk about anything business related or life related, kids, nothing like that. It's about, how am I treating you? Okay. How did you feel this week? Well, you yelled at me a lot. Like, it's like free time. He can tell, well, you only had sex with me once this week. Right. Yeah. You know, like, we need to be doing that 5 times. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right? So it's like just our open time where we can talk about anything. Like, I feel like you were lazy yesterday. I'll say that kind of stuff. Yeah. You know, but it's our open time where we can't judge each other. Right. Yeah. And so how do you get to that point? Because I feel like so many times you're in a relationship, and maybe you're in a relationship of a couple of years, maybe 10 years, and now you're trying to bring this into the relationship when it was never there before. How would you even... Well, both partners... So that's a good point, because both partners have to want it. Yes. And 3 years ago, I gave Chase an ultimatum. I said, I'm leaving. Literally. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. He was just going out with his friends all the time, playing hockey, like, literally, like, being a bachelor with 3 kids. I was like, this ain't happening anymore. Like, listen, I have all the money in the world. Like, I don't need you. That's what I told him.
Yeah.
It wasn't very nice, but that's what I did.
But were you true to that?
Yeah. Yes. And I think a lot of women are scared to give ultimatams, but I was like, listen, I will not tolerate this behavior anymore because I'm not happy. My kids aren't happy. Absolutely not. So you need to change. And that was like a wake up call for him. He was like, whoa. Something needs to change here. So he went to work on himself and he was like, I want to be the best husband that I can be. I want to be the best dad I can be. And he started reading books. He started getting mentors and like diving into it. Where before he didn't take it serious that like, he just thought he would always have me, you know? And I think women are like, oh, well, you know, I got to stay married. I don't know. I do not need to stay married. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I need to make sure that I'm raising happy, healthy kids and that I'm happy too. And so that really helped because now we're on the same page where, okay, we need to make our relationship a priority. And these are things that we do to make sure that our relationship is going in the right direction.
So I really feel with you, it's that you have the confidence to be able to talk to someone, say, hey, this isn't working out. Hey, we need to have a chat about this. And hey, these are my boundaries.
Literally that's why I was late today. Because I was on a phone call talking to somebody like, listen, like I have a problem. We need to talk about it. Right. And I wouldn't say I'm confrontational because I'm not coming at it like I'm going to yell at you. I'm just saying, here's this thing that came up for me. You know, we were in a group environment and you were rude to me. That's how I felt. So I want to talk about it. I want to see, is there anything I did to bother you? Like, because if so, I would like to make it right now. I'm all about like, and that was just
like looking the solution.
Yeah. It's my job. I want peace in this world. Like if, you know, we talked about this other thing, like if somebody didn't do their job, I'm going to have a conversation with them because I don't want bitterness. Yeah. I would rather it be all on the table and me go, I'm not happy with you. Here it is. And we can move on and we can still be friends.
Exactly.
And I don't have to talk bad about you or hold this, like, oh, I wish I would have said this to her. Just say it.
Yeah.
Because that's how I want people to treat me. Like if I've done something wrong with you or, you know, you feel like you didn't get the best service, please tell me so I can become better.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the type of like life the world I want to live in. So that's what I got to do.
Yeah. So it's just, you have that confidence to say it because at the end of the day, otherwise you have that tension between someone else and you haven't had that kind of explosion.
Yeah. And everybody's like, there's an elephant in the room. Let's just talk about it. That's why I named Mommy Millionaire because it was like, and nobody likes to talk about money. Well, let's talk about money. Yeah. Like, it's just a little bit like, you know.
Yeah. Wow. You're just like a firecracker and you're just like, you set my brain on fire because I'm like, yeah, like I'm not the person to like, if I have, like, I go around the corner. I like kind of pussyfoot around.
And how does that feel?
Yeah, I'm frustrated and it's like irritating. And like, you know, I've even sent somebody 3 messages in the last week because, you know, they're supposed to owe me some money. And, you know, I'm like, and they haven't even replied. And I'm like, did I do something wrong? Like, you know, why are you not
There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with them.
Right, exactly. And you're just like, that doesn't make me feel good that, you know, we're supposed to be friends and yet you haven't, you know, have your half of the bargain. So I think it really is just having that confidence to own your own shit and be like, hey, I'm not happy with how this is and let me know, let's rectify this.
Well, I think like our number one fear in life is fear of abandonment. We don't want to be alone.
Right.
Right. That's why we're scared of rejection. That's why we're scared of public speaking. They won't like me. I'll be alone, you know? And so we do everything to protect that. And so instead of going like, and making decisions from that fear-based mentality. Like, oh, if I have this conversation, they're not going to be my friend anymore.
Right.
Well, let's go to worst case scenario. What if they're not your friend anymore?
Yeah, right. Would you even want someone to be your friend who does that anyway?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And so that's where my business coach taught me this with Chase. That's how I actually gave him the ultimatum was, well, let's go to worst case scenario. What happens if you get a divorce? Because before I thought, oh, my business is going to fall apart. My friends won't like me anymore. Like, everything was horrible. Yeah. And then he goes, well, actually, let's work it out. Yeah. And I was like, I think I would be okay. Like, if my business went away, I already know how to build a business. I'll just build another one.
Right. Exactly.
So I'll just do it again. So it's really not that bad. So face it, face the fear, and just.
Yeah, I would say fear isn't even that bad. What's the worst thing that can happen? If you're not going to die, you're fine.
I say the same thing too. Oh my gosh. But so many people are scared to even think about it in their mind because they think, oh, especially if they've played with the law of attraction at all. They think, oh, if I think that, then it's going to come to be. Yeah. That's not true. It's all about your feelings create your reality. Your thoughts don't.
Yeah. So true. Well, you're a firecracker, and I want to know what is coming up for you over the next like 6 months. I feel like you've got so much stuff on the horizon.
I know. So actually, I have my Mommy Millionaire live event that's coming up, and that's all for online business owners. Okay. So we're going to be talking about how to build a team, how to, really build your celebrity online, how to do messenger bots. Like, we're going to be talking about the real practical things of how to build a
rather
business.
Than just like, hey, post a pretty photo. Yeah.
Right. Like, it's going to be inspiring, but it's going to be real life strategy you're going to put into play that weekend on your event. On your business. And I'm so freaking excited for it. So that's
how many people have you got going?
200 people. Wow. So it's kind of smaller because what I do is I have every speaker come off and actually work with you. Okay. So they do a little talk and then they do 30 minutes of working with you on your business. So it's very like workshop style, but you get to meet a ton of people, a ton of networking.
Are there still some tickets left?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're going to put all the details for the event. It's in September.
Yay. October
in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Great place to go as well. And
yes.
have like a party and have some fun there. So we'll put all those details. And your podcast, how can everyone reach you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm on social media. I'm Cayla.craft, Cayla.craft. I always have to do that. And then it's just the Mommy Millionaire podcast. You can find it anywhere that podcasts are played.
Love it. Well, we're going to put all those details below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed getting to know you better on a deeper level. Make sure that you subscribe to the It Takes Grit podcast, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.